Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Spiritual Infinity, my podcast. And today, my guest is Lydia Kimmeling. And Lydia, who is in Ibiza, so she's in the sun all the time. Am I jealous? Yes, because I like the sun. She is a healer, a channeler, a master life coach. And today, she's going to tell us her story on how she connected to her spirituality. Probably what went on in the past, what drove her there, and what changed, how it changed her life, and what she does with it, and how she helps others today. So without much further ado, Kimberly, sorry, I said Kimberly, but Lydia, hello.
Hello, thank you
And as
for
I
having me.
said, you're in the sun. You're in the
I
sun.
am.
But we've got sun here in London for the next week, so we're
hmm
on. Lydia, please tell us your story and welcome to the program.
Thank you. Oh, well, I think I need to take us back to my upbringing. So I was brought up in a Christian household. My dad was a pastor, and I was a really good little Christian girl. But as many of us are who end up on this path, right? And, as an adult now, I can be very grateful for that upbringing and see what it created in me to get to where I am. But around the age of 12, 13, I stopped going to church, and at 16, I left home. And I would say that I've been on a quest for truth ever since then.
Okay.
So I left school early at 16 as well. And at about 27, I hit a crossroad. And so before that, I'd changed my job every year, every couple of years. I'd been working in TV, I'd been a restaurant owner, I'd been cabin crew, I'd been a dance teacher. And then at 27, when I felt unfulfilled still, I found myself on my knees begging to a God that at that point I wasn't sure I believed in, really asking what will really make me truly happy, because I knew it wasn't about changing things again. And I made a commitment to myself to find out what it would really mean to be happy in the now, and to stop saying I'll be happy when. And that ended up leading me to life coaching, and also moving to Ibiza, which is where I started my life coaching business in 2013. And moving here, I created the dream life. I was living and working abroad, which, many people, that wasn't the thing at that time. I was a digital nomad before it was a thing. And I had a beautiful relationship, but something wasn't right. And in 2020, when my little boy was 2, I ended up leaving the father of my son, and it created a lot of inner searching, because it was really traumatic. And it led to a big ascension in 2023, where I'd been dealing with a lot of grief and a lot of burnout, being a single mum. And I said to God, this can't be what you want for me. If there's an easier way, show me. And once again, I found myself on my knees, begging now to a God that I really wanted to believe in, but I still hadn't had that real direct experience. And I surrendered completely, and I said, you can take everything that I know about myself to be true. Just show me really what I'm here for. And that led to a pretty crazy year. Would you like me to go into that?
Yes, tell us. Because it's part of the journey, people, this happens.
Yeah. So, I feel like I got what I had really deeply been longing for, but it was wild. So after surrendering, I went into 10 days of just complete spiritual bliss, no thinking. I just sat on the beach all day, and I knew that I needed to start stripping my business back, because I'd got very busy. Like, I was a crazy busy woman, and it wasn't a good time. This wasn't financially, it wasn't a good time for me to be stripping back, but I did, and I listened. And moving into the year, my meditations started to change. So when I was meditating, I was noticing that I was getting sensations in my body and in my hands, and I just started to follow the energy. And over time, my hands started moving, my body started moving, and these became what I've called activations. And throughout the year, and it still happens now occasionally, but not as much, I was having these big, big clearings with spirit. So I was on my own, but spirit was guiding me to release energy physically, with sound, emotionally. And there were two big experiences that year. The first one was just after my mentor died in May 2023. I had been out on my balcony. It was a few days after his funeral, and I was sad. I came into my living room, and as I walked in, it was like something kicked me in the back of the knees, not aggressively, but to get my attention. And I fell onto the sofa, and then I heard my mentor's voice, and he said, "Lydia, it's going to be okay." And then my right arm just went into the air. It wasn't me doing it. And 7 blue beings came down. They weren't in form like in the living room, but they were in the living room, and they had blue like hooded cloaks on, and they said to me, "Lydia, you're going to exactly who you are and why you're here. We're going to take care of you now, and your energy is your currency." So you can imagine that's like quite a wild experience. And the very next day I was telling my friend, and she said, "You need to read this book," which was it was Journey of Souls, and she had a copy. And the reason she said that is because I had referred to these blue beings as elders. I said these 7 blue cloaked elders came into my living room, and I was like, that's weird. That's not a word I would use. Like, they didn't call themselves elders. I wouldn't say elders, but it just came out my mouth. And in this book, it's written by a hypnotherapist, and he has thousands of cases of regressing people to their life between lives. So just as a spirit.
Yeah.
And they all refer to this time where they go and sit with their council or elders, who are always cloaked with a kind of hood, and they're either white, yellow, light blue, or dark blue. So I just knew that I was meant to get that book, and I knew then that this was my kind of council of elders that had come to connect with me. And from there, these activations just got stronger, wilder. I was getting messages and being guided, and really going deep into those dark spaces that we try to avoid in ourselves, but always breaking into more light. And then in the summer of that year, Jesus actually appeared to me, and along with John the Baptist, and they said, right, we're going to take the meditation out, the baptism out that you had as a child, and we're going to baptize you in light. And I had a very strong experience with the love of Jesus, God, reconnecting, but really without dogma, without indoctrination. It was a very, very real experience of a loving Christ energy that doesn't have to be contained in Christianity.
Yeah.
And then I started to open up some gifts with channeling, light code, light language. And in the beginning of 2024, I found my next mentor, who had been trained by an Indian miracle saint. And I began to train in this tradition of healing and connecting to the miracle energy was also trained in. So that's where my path has taken me to date.
Oh my gosh. Let me ask you, because I'm interested, how did it feel when you connected to Jesus and you said John the Baptist?
Yeah.
How was you feeling at that time?
It was overwhelmingly strong. So what I began to understand was that all these activations were resetting my nervous system so that I could hold higher frequencies of light.
Yes.
And in that moment, it was actually extremely physical, and my whole body was responding to their light. So it was actually uncomfortable, but not in a way where I was, well, actually there was not scared, but it was very powerful. So at first I'd felt the presence of God, and that was extremely loving, because God was saying, I've always loved you.
Yes.
Do you know what? I was watching, it was just a random Friday night, and I was watching Sex Education on Netflix. I don't know if you watch it. It's just like a drama series, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was this young boy in there, a story of this young guy who was gay, we grew up in a Christian family, but he wasn't accepted in the church. And I was watching this story, and it was really having an emotional impact. And then that's when it happened. Like, it was just a random Friday, and so the energy of God came in, and that's when he was saying, I've always loved you. So it was powerful.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Because I've had one or two other guests, the same thing as they're going through. They've had this encounter with Jesus showing up, and they really went through some traumatic things growing up. But obviously, as we grow up, and what was interesting is that you grew up in a Christian household. You stopped going to church around 13, 14. Just let me go back to that. What were you allowed to, because your father was a pastor, how was his attitude towards you when you stopped going to church at 13 and 14?
So they always allowed me to be me, but what I can see now is there's a slight nuance to that, because there's saying that you're allowing, so there's the doing of allowing. But if on the inside the energy is actually much more, but we don't agree, like we're not really accepting you fully, that energy is a lot more powerful. So they did the doing of allowing, but my dad,
a guilt.
yeah,
They're imposing a guilt onto you.
Yeah, and I knew that they've never, I know that I am not fully accepted in their eyes, because I don't have the same set of beliefs. And not, my dad didn't do this intentionally, but energetically, he's a very powerful man, and he put like a kind of black magic on me, not intentionally, but when you so strongly believe in something and you want someone to be a certain way, and there is no flexibility, and you put that thought onto a child who's a sponge, it created a power dynamic between us where I could never really be myself. But I mean, that's all cleared now in this beautiful journey. Like, Jesus has helped me ironically, Jesus has helped me clear that, so that I'm just loving towards my dad, whereas before there was a lot of like discomfort there. A lot of anger.
Anger and conflict against what you wanted for your life.
And
now that you've had this, what I call Christ consciousness and awareness and connection, it allows you to see things differently, and therefore project differently onto other people, who then you actually bring out that loving thought within them, and then you can see that balance. And this is what I find we don't understand, is that when we see people in a negative way, it's not always their negativity we're seeing our own negativity. And until we deal with that and bring out what is truly us, because we are spiritual beings with a physical body having a human experience. And when we bring out that true spiritual love, understanding, forgiveness, and we can actually see that in other people and treat them accordingly, and we send that energy out.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I think I always knew as a child, and many people who who sort of leave Christianity but find spirituality,
Yes.
was that there was something that wasn't quite right. Like, yes, we're talking about love and we're talking about compassion and all of the things that Jesus stood for, yet why do I feel so judged? Why do I feel so much fear, guilt, shame? That can't be right.
Yeah.
And in a way it's good, because it is that forces us to dig deeper and really find what's true. But in essence, that is the one religion, if we even want to call it a religion, is that
Yeah.
true natured love.
Yeah. It actually, when you look at all the religions that came on, Buddhism, the Muslim, everything, it's supposed to do just one thing and one thing, because it's split. We all come from one source, and then some we split and went different ways, and it kind of got twisted or corrupted or but we all came from one thing, and that was unconditional love. And we all carry the DNA of that wonderful God who loved us and created us in unconditional love and gave us free will to see and do. And then we went, and some stayed and some, but ultimately we have to come back, because we're coming back to who we really are and our essence. And only then do we feel comfortable and at peace, because we're back to who we are. So your journey after having these, and I've heard about these blue beings before, and manifested in front of you, and you had this epiphany, this awakening, and then you had this with Christ and John the Baptist. Then how did your life take shape after then?
So it was a bit messy, you know, as it is a lot of even more surrender. And with that, I think when you're going through that level of kind of fire, you know, when real strong purification of the soul, you're thrown a lot of tests. So there were points where, as a single mom, I couldn't pay my rent, and you think you're going crazy. But it really forced me into seeing how God works. And even when it looks like it's not what you want, when you're really in collaboration with God, you see that it's all for your good. So it's kind of been a deepening of faith.
Yes.
And and
I was waiting for that word. It is a deepening of faith. As you say, you couldn't pay your rent, it was messy and it was hard, and it almost feels as though this is wrong, let me go back to where I was. And that's not good.
No.
And it was a purification and a cleaning and a cleansing, but you just have to stay that ground.
You can't turn back. You know too much. It's like you're not operating yourself anymore, your soul is. And so it doesn't make sense, but something keeps pulling you. And my desire at the point that all started to happen, my big question to God was, if it can be easier than this, then I want to know. And that's what God's been showing me this whole time. But I've had to be pushed to the problems, right, to be in the fire, so that I then turn more into the arms of God and my Christ within, to allow myself to be supported and not think that I have to do it all myself. And I am a student. I am, learning still.
Lydia, people need to understand it doesn't matter how old we are and how we live our life, right to the very end, when we transcend, which is death. We're all students. We never stop being students. And it is a continual learning, because it's a continual reshaping and strengthening and waking up to that knowledge of who we are, and wisdom and understanding. And it's a lifelong journey. You never stop. Because each time you overcome something and you think, oh, I understand that now, you go to another stage and you go through something else and oh, I understand that now. Then it's another thing,
Yeah.
because life is deep. We are deep. And we got so much to turn and reshape ourselves in. And yes, I can imagine when you say it became messy. And it was, and it is each time an act of faith, of understanding and surrender. You do have to surrender and realize you don't do it on your own. You're never on your own. There's always help, but it's a test. It's a test. So after the messiness, what happened? Well, what happened as you went through the messiness and you started to come out at that clearing?
Well, when I was going through all of that, I kept thinking, oh, I need a mentor. I need a mentor. And I spoke to a couple of people, but nobody could really meet me where I was. So I left it. And then in February time 2024, I was watching a podcast. And there was a lady on there, and she was talking about her experiences when she was a student of an Indian miracle saint called Sri Kalashwar. And she had seen some incredible miracles. And as I watched her and listened to her story, I started to get goosebumps. And I was like, if this is real, because, you know, I've seen Jesus manifest in front of me. So I know that the supernatural is real. I'd had enough experiences to know that was real. Yeah. But if there is somebody doing miracles in my lifetime, then of this level, then I want to know. So I emailed her, and honestly, not expecting a response, because this podcast gets millions of views. And she emailed me straight back, and she said, look, you need to watch this, and this is how you get started. And I was like, oh, okay, so I'm doing this then. And things aligned themselves. She's in LA, and then she happened to be in London, not far from me, when I was there on a visit. And I started her mastery course last September, and it's really just accelerated me to a whole new level. And what's amazing about this tradition with Sri Kalashwar is that it includes Jesus. Jesus is his master, and he actually took his Mahasamadhi in 2020. However, he's obviously lived many lifetimes, and he has studied these palm leaf books, ancient palm leaf books that are 7,000 to 10,000 years old, and they hold the mechanics of creation. So the Maharishis of 7,000 years ago transcribed everything in there that they knew about the truth of our origins and how to really connect to God and Mother Divine and connect to this miracle energy, as Jesus was demonstrating when he was in form. So that's what I've been studying, is purifying my own soul, and I'm still a student of this, so that I can also connect to those channels and use those channels as a healer and be a conduit, because it's not my energy, but be a conduit for Jesus, for Sri Kalashwar, to pull that energy through and bless people's lives with that energy so that they can activate their own healing.
Lovely. Absolutely lovely. So where are you at with yourself at the moment, and with your life and your journey with your business and all?
So I've integrated everything now. It feels like, you know, when they first said to me, you're going to find out exactly who you are and why you're here, I feel like I've come, you know, pretty full circle with that message, and I'm sharing it with the world. And you know, it's interesting because it's like not much has changed externally, if I'm honest. You know, I spend a lot of time on my own. I'm still a single mother. Money is up and down, but I'm fine, but not fine. Like I'm content. I'm at peace, and everything has happened on the inside, you know. So I now feel like I'm coming into the beginnings of everything picking up a bit and actually sharing much more of this with the world, if that's God's will. I don't know what
Yes.
he wants to do with me, to be honest, but I'm listening and trying to do my best.
Well, I think as light workers, which you are, I am, so many of us, it is about what we know, how we feel, our connection with God of creation, with the God of Jesus, with Jesus, and with all those true, holy, light saints and beings.
Mm-hmm.
And I say light because we also know there are a lot of so-called beings there that say they're of the light, but they're not. So when we connect to those and we are coming from those and we're working, it is to share with the world and to share our gifts and what we know. And it's interesting that really, as you said, from in your 20s, you were doing so many different things, and including doing coaching and all the rest. And you're still doing the coaching, but what's happened now? You've gone deeper. You've gone deeper, and your connection.
I
And
always was working with energy.
Yes.
So it's not a surprise to me, but now really having this, it's like this technology really to be very precise with what I'm doing. It feels, well, it's ancient, you know, it comes before the Bible. So, but I can see why the coaching really helps, because people need to unpack the mind, they need to unpack their heart, as well as kind of receiving the energy, so that they can integrate. Because quite often people are having these big experiences, but they don't have the framework to integrate it as well.
Yeah. And you said something there, they need to unpack their minds, unpack their hearts, because of what we've gone through, not just in this lifetime, but in many lifetimes. We're carrying a lot of baggage, we're carrying a lot of mess, we're carrying a lot of things that we need to unlearn, let go of, clean out, so that the new stuff, the proper things, has a place to sit and spread and move and manifest itself. You know, it's like wanting to have a lovely new home, but when you go inside, it's filthy. You can't bring in furniture and feel good. You've got to go in, clean it, dust it off, wash it, and prepare it so that when the new stuff comes in, you feel good. It functions the way it's supposed to function and make you feel the way you're meant to feel. So it is about looking inwards in ourselves, things that we don't realize we hold on to, things that we don't realize that we're keeping in, that is making us unhappy and angry and all the rest. And we need to look at it, sort it, clean it out, so that we can have that energy. And obviously you've gone through that, and you're still going through that, because as I said, it is a lifelong journey. You never stop, because you're continually learning and learning. Lydia, so you're now doing these courses, but you're also doing your business. What, if people needed to contact you, what are you doing? How are you doing? And what courses are you doing yourself that people can connect with you?
So I've put my 15 years of experience into one 90-minute session, and that's what I offer now. It's called Activate Your Healing. It's 90 minutes, and it combines my masterful coaching, my channeling, and the energy healing. Really, it's like a year's worth of therapy in one session, because my superpower really is that I can get straight to the source of what's holding you back. And you can book that through my website, or the place I'm hanging out in the most is Instagram. So come connect with me there at Lydia Kimmeling. Say hi. And if you don't quite feel ready for that one-to-one session just yet, you can join one of my live workshops. I have 6 left this year. The next one is, well, I don't know when this might have gone out, but it'll be May the 17th. You can find those on my website as well. And that's a really affordable, easy way to just learn and grow with me. And be a part of my community. There's so much that I'm putting out all the time to just teach and inform. So I'd love to connect.
So Lydia, can you say to people what your website is? I know you said in Instagram you're at Lydia Kimmeling.
Yeah. My website is thehappinessexplorer.com.
Oh, that's nice. The happiness with 2 P's?
Yes.
Okay, so people can get you at thehappinessexplorer.com. You've got your community going, and you've got your 90-minute session that people can connect with you. But of course, if they go to your website, that will all be there up.
Yeah.
And they can also probably connect and send questions and things, I suppose, if they wanted to know.
Absolutely.
So Lydia, you've gone through quite a bit. You've gone through a journey, and as I said, you're still going through that journey. And what's interesting, and I think you had a partner. You had to leave that situation. You're still a single mother. You're going all through this alone. How do you feel as being alone and not having a partner?
That is a big question. That's been probably my biggest journey, and the thing that God has wanted me to detach from the most. I'd say that my strongest attachment was that I'd be happy once I was in a relationship. And it's a constant journey, because every time I meet someone, they're a new teacher. And I'm always grateful for that. And I see how God is just constantly showing me to own more and more of my worth, to speak more and more of my truth, to be more and more in my queen energy. And it's a ride. There's times where I feel alone, but not lonely. So that's more about just having someone to do things with, and having that physical, somebody in form, right? Because
Yes.
That's different, but it is what it is, and like the more what I realized was that the way in which I was holding on to wanting that was causing me a lot of pain, and God doesn't want us to be in pain. So
no.
Yeah.
And can I ask you this question, because I when I'm working with people and I'm listening to people, and I see this more and more, is that, as you said, everybody you connect with. So of course you meet somebody for a while or whatever, and as you said, you learn from them, and you're more into your queen energy and your value. And what I find with as women, because of the way society makes us feel, and that the men are up there and we're down there, and we need a man. I think it's a case where, as women, we need to value ourselves more. And sometimes we take on a partner lesser than we deserve, because we find we're women, we need a man, so we just accept. And it's about us looking inwards and valuing ourselves, valuing our worth. And only then, when we understand who we are and the worth we are, and raise to that level, will we then demand that from the partner that comes into our life, that will then treat us in a way we will be happy.
That's what I'm hoping.
No, don't hope. That's what you deserve. And this is what you're going through, that leveling up to honor yourself, and really honor yourself, and know that you're worthy.
My hope, the reason why I say hoping is because my experience is to not expect a reward, I'm just here doing the work because I'm doing the work, and the reward is my peace, not the relationship, not the money, not the gains. And if I think that the work I'm doing is so that then I get the relationship, that's a false economy. So I know that that will be there, and I know that if that's in my heart, God wants that for me too. But I released that. I released that it will be because of something, you know. That's just where I'm at.
Yeah, it's not a question that you need that relationship. You need your peace. You need your value. You need to be whole and who you are. And anything else, if it's to be, it's to be. It's the thing that you need most is connect to that source and to be at one with that. To be at one with that source, and that's really our ultimate goal. Anything else is a bonus, is added on. But when you connect to that source, it's everything. It's everything. Lydia, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. Thank you very much for opening up your heart and telling us about your journey. And I know a lot of people who are listening will be able to identify with what you've gone through, the messy side, and more particularly when you do see the light, when you do, you know, go through that spiritual side, and it's about your spiritual side, and you do realize what's going on. You are tested, and it's not so much as a tested, it's realizing when you're cleaning out, don't let go. Things are going to get messy because you're changing directions, and sometimes negativity doesn't want you to change directions, so it will make things also difficult and to make you think different. But don't. Once you hang on and you reach that light, hold on to it and don't look back, and whatever comes, don't let go. Lydia,
beautiful.
is there anything else you'd like to say to those who are watching? Any little nugget you can give them for their journey?
Oh, well, thank you for listening. And you know, if life does feel difficult right now, I'm sorry. I know it can be really tough, but you will get through it. And there is a love. There really is an energy that is so powerful and so loving and really wants you to just fall into its arms. And so I just encourage you to, you know, keep surrendering, because you don't have to do it all alone.
Bless you. Thank you so much. Lydia, thank you for being our guest today, and to all those viewers, thank you for viewing. Bye for now, and I'll see you later. Thank you.